I've been thinking about how I listen to my music, which for the majority of us is going to be in a mobile fashion, in a mobile way, meaning playback from my phone, in the car, um, with headphones, and it could be in a commute to work, or or back home, uh, at work, on the weekends doing chores, whatever, the stuff around the house. But as much as I love to pick out all the little nuances and all the parts and all the layers and what's going on in a song, with a lot of music, there's so much to it, and you don't even really notice half of what's there a lot of times. Headphones definitely help, but I'm talking about more of like a connection with the music as you're listening to it. See, I think listening and hearing your music are really two different things. A lot of time is spent hearing our music, right? You hear the lyrics, you hear the music, you hear the bass line, guitar, keyboard, whatever, right? So listening, though, involves a little bit more of an intimate connection. You free yourself of distractions, or as many as you can. And the more that you allow yourself to do that, the more focus that you have on the music. And you start to really hear and understand and appreciate music, the different layers and the different things, and everything that's going on in that song. It's very cool, and it also makes you realize, you're not doing that a lot when you're hearing your music, and that's totally fine. I mean, that's life. We're busy. We're doing things. We still want to hear music, but we can't devote all of our time or energy to it. But it is nice to think that you can. And anyway, I've been thinking about that a lot more recently, and how much I would really like to just devote, a space in my home, or or even just some time to just kick back, listen to music on a good system or headphones, and really appreciate the music. The more I think about that, I also think about where I listen to my music, or the more I think about my music source. Like as I mentioned, from my phone, through a paid subscription to a service that you keep your library in, and that's also fine. I mean, who am I to complain, right? With everything that we have, everything's a subscription, to watch movies and shows, or to save your library of videos or movies or whatever. The same thing with your music and your songs and your albums. However, it's not completely out of our hands. We still have some control of that. Meaning, if you have a CD collection, or if you have a vinyl collection, that's awesome. Or even a reel-to-reel collection, whatever it is, that's yours. No one can take that from you, unless you get robbed or something, God forbid. But that's yours, and you don't have to pay a subscription for it. And it's awesome, because that's your music no matter what. And it's really cool to think that you can, when time allows, listen and appreciate your music on your own time. So this CD player, and I've been wanting a CD player for a good while. We used to have them back, right? Like when they come with like a little micro system, speakers, CD player built in, little AM FM tuner. We get rid of these things over time because they're either no use to us, or they're they become broken, or whatever reason, right? But been really thinking about a CD player, single disc, and all personal preference. Again, you find CD players in all shapes and sizes, 100 disc units or more. Some that hold 10 discs in the little magazine of CDs. But I really like the idea of a single disc tray that slides out. You put your disc in, you push the tray closed again, and I don't know, something personal about that. You're only focusing on one album of music at a time, and to me it gives like a feeling of more importance to that album. You're just focusing on that one thing. Anyhow, the more I've looked around for these single disc players, and they're it's a decent amount of money, brand new, or even in the last 5-10 years of production. You can find used players out there, and some, I don't want to say they're vintage, but they're pretty old. I saw one on Facebook Marketplace recently, and I did a little research on it, and I thought, man, this is actually a pretty decent player. And it was the brand is called Usher, and it's like, who the heck's Usher other than the artist, right? But this was I hadn't heard of it. Usher CD-100. It's at least 20 years old. It works perfectly fine. Anyway, the listing was for this player for $15, right? $15, man. This thing, I think, retailed for at least $450. It's a clone of the Music Hall 25.2 or 25.2 was the model. I don't know. They look exactly alike except for the brand labeling on it. And that one was like retail $5.99 new back in the day. So I thought this is kind of a substantial player. Like maybe this is, it's worth its price. And what do I know from audiophile? I really don't. But I like to learn. I mean, we've got to start somewhere. I'm on audiophile by no means, but I do appreciate, a good quality piece of equipment. So, of course, there's only photos of it, and chatted with the seller a few times just to ask some basic questions. Doesn't have a remote, but that was no biggie. I mean, it's, if I'm putting a disc in and hitting play, most of the time I'd like to listen to the whole thing. There's some discs where I don't necessarily want to hear all the songs on it, but maybe that'll force me to listen to the other songs and appreciate those more than I had before. But anyhow, coming to pick it up, and it's pretty fair. It's like a full-size player, but it's also heavy. I couldn't believe, how heavy it would be. I don't actually know the weight. I want to say it's something like 15 pounds. But the front, in the photo again, it looks like it's, silver painted plastic and the black frame or the black chassis. But it's, I'm hard pressed to find a piece of plastic on this thing. Maybe the buttons in the front might be plastic, but the front is definitely like a little stainless steel faceplate, like an inch thick. And it's got this little round, little porthole shaped window, just a round display window right in the middle. And it's like a little LED, like little dot matrix display or whatever. And a small light underneath that display, kind of like a red LED light with HDCD underneath. So I guess it's HDCD compatible. Although I've never played an HDCD or even owned one, for that matter. So I'm not even sure what other formats compete with it. It's like the whole Betamax versus VHS thing. I just know it's capable of playing a higher quality audio discs. It's cool. My collection is about a dozen, and this is like holdouts from, my college days and early adulthood. I didn't have a huge library. I had, 3 or 4 dozen discs with the jewel cases and the inserts and everything. The rest were just, rips from music online, So, and I still have a lot of that, but I have about a dozen of my original collection left. And it's kind of sad, but in other ways, I know that if I'm interested in finding it, chances are I can online. That's always a plus. So I can always build my collection just like I do, let's say, with a vinyl collection. But it's nice to know that, I have a start now, a unit to play back the CDs, a space in my home to listen to them. And I look forward to listening to my collection. It's nice that I can just play it on my own time, offline. I don't have to pay for a subscription, and I can build my collection over time.